Can we talk about how suppressing your emotions is not helpful for you in the long run? I know that for some people it feels like a flex. I can deal with it. I can push it down. I can compartmentalize. I don't need it. It doesn't help you. It's coming back up one way or the other. So how do you stop suppressing it? You name your emotion. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm whatever. I don't need to fix it, but I do need to acknowledge it. I need to give it space, and I might need to sit in it for a minute and learn how to take care of myself through it. That's how you learn to emotionally regulate. That's how you learn to begin to process. That's how you learn to become curious. You don't always have to fix it, but you have to acknowledge what you're experiencing.
You know, once you identify what feelings that you have suppressed, then you can own them. But you first got to identify them. You got to be able to call them out by name or by attribute. You know, you're not going to be able to really operate in ownership of yourself until you start owning your trauma, until you start owning your feelings and owning your actions and even owning your past. To a certain extent, was it mama, daddy fault? Yes. You hear me? Yes. You know, but once you've been exposed to the information, the knowledge, and the light, you can't say no more that all you've seen is darkness. It's not true no more. Because you've seen light, and now you're responsible for what you've seen. You heard me? You're responsible for what you've heard and what you've been exposed to. You know, a lot of us run from that responsibility. And if after being exposed to light, if all you know is still darkness, then that's because you ain't taking time to get to know the light yet. So once we identify the feelings that we have suppressed, then we can own them.
While today's topics will touch on a controlled substance, sexuality, and religious beliefs, the views and opinions expressed in this video are my own and not intended to be taken as facts, professional advice, a diagnosis, formal or otherwise, nor a suggested treatment option. I am voicing value, and I am simply sharing my personal perspective on a situation that's being discussed on a public platform. This content is created for entertainment purposes only. I do not condone nor condemn any of the actions or behaviors mentioned in this video. Now let's listen in on Cali as he explains the situation based on his own experience that night.
I want to revisit my mushroom trip when I went out to the basketball player's house that I was invited to by Kevin Wesley. I was invited out to this mushroom party, right, where things went kind of left at a certain point in time. Now, he goes around platform to platform just trying to discredit what I said happened in that house that night, because he's trying to make it seem like I was so high, that I was tripping, that I was just out of it, right? But I want to show you some things. Everything I said, I stand on. I said I came there. It wasn't entertainment for me. I came there on some spiritual, and I told you the reason I did it was for psychological reasons. It was for spirituality. It wasn't for entertainment. I had intent when I did it, okay?
Cali wants us to know that his intentions for attending that mushroom party was different from the other folks' intentions. Remember that, and later you'll see why this is important.
That night on mushrooms, I was shown. I've never done mushrooms again. But that night, that one time, I was shown who this guy was, and I was shown who Dwight Howard was.
Was this your intention, Cali?
I stand on that. And they keep proving me to be right.
Remember, this is his mindset before getting there.
But see, brother, you were already being questioned, even back when me and you were cool. So this didn't start with me, brother. This didn't start with me. You were already being questioned when me and you were cool. People were questioning you then. Remember? You were being questioned back then. But because you was my homeboy, I ain't see what they saw. I ain't see. But guess what? I understand, you know, what you gotta hide. And I understand why you gotta fight so hard to try to prove what you claim you didn't do. I get it. Cause it would ruin your image, right?
Some things that you hadn't forgiven yourself from, some things that you made bad decisions about, resurfaced again when you tried to jump out the window for your brother. So when she said, you better shut the hey, I agree with you. When you came back and said, hey, I'm out of it, I agree with you. Because see, she got to know some things. She knows some things, brother. and you trying to jump out the window for your brother, you might want to sit this one out, bro. Because see how it's bringing up other things that you wanted to go away? That's how it happens. That's how it happens, right? I don't think you're a bad person, brother. I just think you made some bad decisions, and your bad decisions are finding you out. See, you were already being questioned before you did what you did in the house. You were already being questioned then. It just made it worse when your homeboy felt violated, man. When your homeboy felt violated. And we know what these people and these celebrities, what they do in these little secret societies, right? They try to blackmail people. They try to put things over people's head, right? Get them caught in positions. And we won't talk about the decision you made to videotape me that night, right? While I was in an altered state of mind at that ceremony, right? Why did you videotape me, brother? Wow. Because you were going to try to use it against me to make me look like I was crazy. That's what you were going to try to do. But I jumped ahead of it. See, my higher self protected me that night. I didn't eat that fruit. None of that. I didn't eat none of that. You know what? I had a gay supervisor at my job that told me, I'm glad you didn't take that fruit. Because brother, I believe they put something in that fruit. And they were gonna knock you out cold. Now, I can't prove that was the situation. I just know it was some weird shit going on in that house that night.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Voice and Value, the place where we keep it real, break things down, and explore the messy, the spiritual, and the psychological sides of relationships and identity. Now grab a seat because today we're getting into it. We're going to dive into a story that's been floating around the internet for about 6 years now. A story about mushrooms, mansions, and a fruit bowl. Yes, a fruit bowl, but this ain't a cooking show. This is about repressed sexuality, denial, and projection. And why a man might still be mad over a gay fruit bowl offer from 2020. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the viral trip heard around the internet. Here's a quick backstory for those of you who were lucky enough not to even hear about all this. Two grown men, Cali and Kevin, they took a little spiritual journey together. Not just a bro trip, nah. They were tripping, literally, on psychedelic mushrooms at a well-known NBA player's Hollywood Hills mansion. Now, Kevin, being the peaceful spiritual type, probably thought this was going to be a chance to go inward, to heal, reflect, align. But Cali, he's out here convinced that this was a secret gay seduction plot. Why? Because while under the influence, Kevin offered him a bowl of fruit. And he held it too softly. Yeah, that's the story. That's honestly it in a nutshell. Cali says the way Kevin extended that bowl was gay. And ever since then, he's been on a one-man campaign to make sure everyone knows, I ain't gay, but Kevin is. Let's be honest. It ain't about the fruit. Now, I know a few things in life. Number one, fruit is delicious. Number two, shrooms will have you seeing God and speaking to the furniture. And number three, if a man is still talking about how another man handed him a bowl of strawberries almost 6 years later, it's not about the fruit. Let's talk about repressed sexuality for a second. Oh, it's a real thing. Especially in communities where gay is seen as sinful, weak, or shameful. Many of us, especially black and brown folks, we were raised in deeply religious homes that demonize anything outside of being straight. There was no LGBTQIA movement when I was growing up. The older generations discriminated against all of them. No letter left behind. Well, when that's been drilled into your head since you were a kid, things like, that's not manly, that's an abomination, you're going to hell in a handbasket, it becomes real hard to even explore your sexuality. Even the thought of attraction to the same sex becomes terrifying. So when Cali had this mushroom trip, all those repressed thoughts, those feelings, questions, and maybe even curiosity came flooding to the surface. But instead of facing it, he panicked. He projected. And now almost 6 years later, he's still talking about the moment as if he was violated over a fruit bowl. Here's the thing about mushrooms and psychedelics. They don't make you see things that aren't real. They show you things that you usually hide from yourself. Hallucinogens don't lie. Shrooms will break down ego. They lift the mask. And they drag all of your suppressed stuff to the surface. Your traumas, fears, pain, and yes, sexuality too. So Cali might have seen that fruit bowl as seductive because he was in a vulnerable spiritual state. What Kevin did might have been nothing but kindness, but Cali saw it through the lens of his own fear while under the influence of shrooms. And when you've spent your whole life denying a part of yourself, that sudden spiritual exposure, it feels like an attack. It feels like someone's trying to turn you gay when really you just caught a glimpse of something you yourself really wasn't ready to see. Look at what's happening here psychologically. There's denial, but then there's projection. Denial is when we push something uncomfortable out of our consciousness. I'm not gay. Projection is when we take what we're feeling and throw it onto someone else. Kevin is gay. So Cali keeps defending his own sexuality loudly, like loud. Almost 6 years later, and he's still doing interviews, still giving sermons, still breaking down this one fruit bowl like it was some gay Illuminati ritual. Meanwhile, Kevin ain't said much. Just chilling. Except when Cali challenges him to come on a panel to defend his sexuality. Not every time, but more than once or twice. Dwight said, "What I do in my personal life ain't your mother beeping business." See, people who are comfortable with themselves, they don't need to prove anything. They don't need to run around calling people gay. They don't keep obsessing over old situations because they're secure. But when you're in identity crisis mode, everything feels like an accusation. Everything feels like a threat. Let's go even deeper. Let's talk about masculinity, religion, and fear. For men like Cali, this isn't just about sex or attraction. It's about manhood. It's about how he was raised, how he was taught to see himself. Religion, especially in some Christian household, it can be a blessing, but it can also be a cage. Cali grew up hearing that gay people were sinners, that expressing yourself emotionally was weak, that even being around gay energy was dangerous. So when Kevin, who may be more emotionally open, more free, more gentle, offered him fruit in a peaceful way, Cali saw his softness as seduction. Now, I've read that during a mushroom trip, staying hydrated and comfortable is important. Eating fruit can contribute to hydration and also provide some sense of comfort, which can be very helpful if somebody's experiencing a difficult trip. But Cali saw vulnerability and danger, because in his world, to be soft was to be gay. And to be gay was to lose everything: his manhood, his reputation, his family, his God. So yeah, Cali panicked. And now he's in hyper defensive mode, trying to destroy Kevin's image to save his own reflection. So is Cali gay? Listen, I'm not here to label anybody, but what I will say is this. When someone can't stop talking about an incident that didn't involve sex, didn't involve touching, and didn't involve anything except a damn bowl of fruit, and yet they're this angry, this vocal, this obsessed, there's something unresolved there. Whether he's gay, bi, curious, or just traumatized by a moment that forced him to face his inner conflict, only Cali can answer that for himself. But he needs to stop dragging Kevin into this inner war. Here's a lesson for all of us. Sometimes the thing that offends us the most is the thing that hits too close to home. We don't need to make people gay villains just because we don't understand our own feelings. And we damn sure don't need to crucify people for being comfortable in their skin, especially if we're not. Cali's problem wasn't the fruit. It wasn't Kevin. It was what that moment revealed. And let me say this before I go. It's never okay to bash someone, make jokes at their expense, or build your platform by tearing down someone else because they're gay. Period. You don't get to weaponize someone's identity, especially when so many of your own subscribers, your own followers, your own supporters are part of that very community that you're mocking. Being gay is not a punchline. It's not something to shame or accuse someone of like it's a crime. And if you really believe in spiritual growth, in truth and healing, then that growth has to start with compassion and accountability, not overt masculinity, and certainly not thinly veiled hate. If your identity is secure, you don't need to attack anyone else's. So before you point another finger, check who's really hurting in the mirror.
Nobody don't give a damn if people gay anymore. I'm going to tell y'all who broke that. Millennials. We were not finna sit here and continue to have what happened in this house stays in this house moment. No ma'am, no ham, no. But then it got me to thinking, I'm finna keep it honest and real with y'all. Because they're so old school. We've been taught a long time ago, and if y'all paid attention, a certain eras of breaking the curse. That you don't say nothing. This is our business. You shut up. You don't say nothing, right?
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.